All right, guys, I promised you we'd be doing it, and we are here. This is the final test for this car. This is the 1HZ highway test, but we're towing. So I've got a small plate alloy boat on the back that weighs in just over a tonne with the trailer and all the bits and pieces in it. And I promised you guys we'd do it. We've done lots of other testing in the 1HZ. We're going to take this onto the highway. I'm going to measure real life fuel consumption. We're going to look at EGTs, and we're going to look at the drivability of it on the highway with keeping up with speed limits, how it goes up hills, and just general drivability. We'll head back to the shed after. We can discuss all the results, and I'll walk you through the pros and cons of a 1HZ for towing. Now, this is a bittersweet video for me. If you've been following the channel, you'd know that there's something else in the works. I'm building a new 105 Landcruiser that is just going to be on another level to this one. The original purpose of this was to tidy it up, build it into a bit of an all-rounder, make it capable off-road, but still perfect to carry all your camping gear in and out, do some lightweight budget, I suppose you call it touring, camping, and four-wheel driving. And we have achieved it. This has been a pretty spectacular car. I might do one more video just showing you exactly how it looks now, because I did paint it myself. I did a bunch of work, so yeah, it is a bummer that it's going. It'll be up for sale in the next couple of weeks. However, I am staunchly of the opinion that it is making way for better things, a better build. So unfortunately, all good things must come to an end. This will go, and the FTE 105 will take its place. But for now, I'm not going to mess around. We're going to head straight to the servo. We're going to fill up with fuel, and I'll see you guys again as we are entering the highway. You can see there now we've got our EGT set up. We're just on the road out towards the highway, so I think it'll be the similar sort of markers we're looking for. If we get up above, or somewhere between 450 and 500 degrees, we'll start backing off with our driving style, just to keep everything safe. But other than that, the first test I'll just walk you through. Unfortunately, I don't have a camera that can show the speedo. But what I'll do, what I'll do is I'll just talk you through as we hit milestones on the speedo. So at the moment we're just doing 70, which is what we're allowed to do as we come up to the highway. Also, I'm giving you adjusted speed, so because we've got bigger tires than stock, it obviously throws it out a bit. I know roughly what it is, so I can let you guys know what speed we're doing as we go. So on the on-ramp now, I've just hit the 110 sign. Now, because we're towing, obviously your driving style is different. We're not trying to race anywhere. We're just trying to get to the speed limit at our own pace. We're doing 100, and that there is 110. So you can see even with the boat on the back, we're doing it with relative ease. Obviously, if there's no boat, you get there a lot quicker, but I generally stick just below 110 anyway, just to keep the revs in that ideal range. So rolling up to speed is no issue. If you really wanted to put the boot in it, you could. I didn't keep a close eye on EGTs, but obviously you'll see whatever was on the gauge there. I'm guessing it stayed below 400, which is well and truly where we want to be. Like I said, once you get up closer to 500, that's when I start to roll off the style of driving to cool it down quicker. So I'm just going to cruise through a bit. When we get to our first hill, I'm going to start recording again, and I'll show you how we go. So we are rolling down our first hill now, which goes up our first hill. This hill is, I would say, in terms of steepness, it's probably medium. This is going over the Mooney Mooney Bridge, or the Mooney Mooney Creek. So medium steepness or incline, but it runs for a decent amount of time too. So we've started at 110. We're just maintaining speed here as you roll into the uphill section. Now we might be limited by trucks and vehicles in other lanes, but obviously with a boat on the back, I'm not going to stick in the right-hand lane and be that person that slows everyone down. So we'll go straight into overdrive, just because it's the right thing to do for the gearbox. We're doing 100 k's an hour still. We're getting up near that 500, so I'm going to start rolling off. And you can see how quickly those EGTs drop. A good tune makes all the difference in the world. We're still doing 100 k's an hour here. Just gonna pop back into that left lane. And I feel quite confident there. There's nothing to suggest the car's getting hot. We're just on 500 degrees. I've dropped to 95 k's an hour here. And again, it's just treating the car with some respect. It's a 1HZ. We're not trying to flog it. We're not in a rush to get anywhere. If you're in a rush to get places, don't buy a 1HZ. It's as simple as that. Crest of the hill, overdrive off. We're doing 95. EGTs are just instantly back down. And that comes down to a handful of things that we've done. The most important things, I've done a full comprehensive list on a video here you can have a look at, but injectors, if they're not relatively new, they should be serviced or replaced. A front mount intercooler and a good tune. So we're back on flat ground here, we're cruising again. I'll come back to you guys on the next hill. Another note that I think is worth mentioning, and another great mod for these cars, I've put a heavy duty rear sway bar in this, and I don't think I've towed with the heavy duty rear sway bar, and it just makes such a big difference. The car feels super planted on the highway. It's actually really comfortable. I always forget how comfortable these cars are. But if you're going to be doing some towing, or you're going to carry a decent amount of weight in the back, a heavy duty sway bar is definitely worth the money. There's not really anything else to report on here. We're sitting on 108. EGTs are at 280 degrees, so we are just chilling. I'll see you at the next hill. Okay, we are coming up to our next bridge. This is the Brooklyn Bridge. So I think this one is a bit steeper than the last climb that we did. And it goes for a bit longer too. It's sort of in two stages. We climb, then there's a bit of a easing off, and then we climb even harder again. So on the lead up to that, there's a small little hill here. We're down in a 90 zone now, but again, I kind of forget how effortless this car is, even with the boat on the back. They're much more drivable than I even give them credit for in hindsight. It just holds the speed limit there. It doesn't even hint at getting hot. I think the trick with a 1HZ is to just make sure it's set up properly, and it's not just doing one or two things, it's getting everything working together nicely. And for some people, it may not be the right direction to go. You might be better off with an FTE 100. You might be better off doing what I'm doing up front and building an FTE 105, but you're gonna have to have some cash for that. These still as an all-rounder, I just think they're so unbelievable. You can go and crawl off-road all day. You still get that diesel reliability, but when you need to, if you're not towing all the time, there's no issues pulling a boat or a trailer every now and then. So we're just rolling back into the 110 zone. We're doing 110. If my outside camera's working, I've tried to set up one of my other cameras a little bit differently. You'll be able to see we're heading across the bridge now. We've got trucks in all lanes for some reason, swerving around like psychos, which, welcome to the M1. Jesus. So it's a very slight incline here. I'm just trying to maintain enough speed. Truck's moved over. We're still doing 110. We're about to hit the hill. And again, my driving style will always be the same. I'm not trying to find the limits of this. I'm definitely not trying to break it or damage it in any way, shape or form. The whole idea of this build was to build a car that will last a 1HZ that will last a long time. So we're still at 110. Our EGTs are gonna tell us how to drive. Now I'm sure you could get up it and flog it if you wanted to, but I just don't see the point in that. Being an auto, the wise thing to do is to get into overdrive pretty quickly. That just allows the engine a bit more space. The gearbox will get a little bit hotter, but not enough to worry it. So we're rolling up 475. We've just clicked over to overdrive, doing 105. And again, you don't need to religiously sit there and stare at the EGTs. I don't bother usually. On a normal drive, I have my alarm set at, I think, 550. And I never hear the alarm, so I've never worried, because 550 is the point where I would start to really back off and give the car some space. So, but for the purposes of this, 380, we're still low. Get overdrive back on for a sec, give the gearbox a break. You can see the difference overdrive makes there. It's 50 degrees it jumps. But we're doing 110. We're in the middle of the hill. 110 with probably 1.2 tonne on the back roughly. So if you're thinking about a 1HZ, you don't tow all the time, but you're worried about what's going to happen if you have to every now and then with a turbo on it. This is it. It's not bad. Do it. All right, up near 500. Just pop that. Proactively overdrive off. We're doing 100 k's an hour here. And that's that hill done. So by modern car standards, nothing special, but by old indirect injection diesels, it's pretty bloody good. So from memory, I haven't done this in a little bit, I think we go and do a U-turn. And this is something I'd never do in the real world, but for the sake of testing and being consistent, I'm gonna set up at the only one where I normally do, and we will do a 0 to 100 test with the boat on the back. So I'll probably see you as we're rolling up to that next. Okay, so this next test is one that I will not be doing again. I'm gonna run the 0 to 100 test like I normally would. But I wouldn't normally 0 to 100 with a boat on the back. I wouldn't plant the foot and hold it up to 100 k's an hour with a boat on the back. I can't imagine it would do your car any favors long term. However, for the sake of experimenting and a one-off and just seeing the actual performance of the car with a boat on the back, I'm happy to give it a go one time. So as usual, I'm pulling up to the normal spot. We'll get off the downhill so we're not getting any sort of jump start. There's a bit of moss here, so hopefully we don't lose too much traction. I mean, the same rules. I never stall it up. I never go for a big launch. It's just from a standing start, I'll step on the accelerator, and as soon as we start moving, I will time it and go. That's 45, 65, 85, 100. Okay. Amazingly, we didn't set off any alarms again. It looked like it got to about 525 degrees. The tune has really changed the way the heat builds compared to what it used to. There seems to be an initial sharper jump, I think, because there's just more fuel getting in there, but it doesn't keep running like it used to. For a non-compensated pump, it's really impressive how well it does that. So that felt extremely slow. No surprises there. If you've made it this far into this video, are you interested in seeing how this stuff goes on my other cars? I have a Ram as well. That's my company car. I'm kind of interested to see what it would do in that situation. So if it's something you guys would want to see, I'd be happy to even just make a short video and throw it up for a laugh. But yeah, that felt okay. So now we're at 110. We're just rolling up a small hill here. Like I said, I'm pretty sure I've got a better camera angle going from the outside of the car on the boat, so I might be able to show you a bit of a better sort of how big the hills are. Anyway, that's enough yapping. I'll pull up at the next hill and I'll see you there. Okay, so now we're running back the opposite way to what we came before, so it'll be Brooklyn Bridge first. Which is the longer hill, but not quite as steep. And then Mooney Mooney at the end. It's a shorter hill, but it's quite steep, so it puts it under pressure quicker, which just gives you an idea of the different types of uphill towing that you might be doing with the 1HZ. And also for any of you who have made it this far, I wonder if it's worth me doing one more walk around video on this car and just doing a recap of everything we've done, how it looks with the new paint, just letting you know all the final specs, so that way if you're wanting to build one like this, you know everything that you need to do to pretty much have exactly what I have. I figured it'd be a good opportunity to do that and just showcase what it is when it goes up for sale. So yeah, if you think that's worthwhile, just put a thumbs up in the comment, no context needed, just a thumbs up, that'd be awesome. Okay, so we've just rolled into the flat. We're actually under 200 degrees, which is awesome to see. The bridge is slightly downhill, so compared to the other side where you start building up heat straight away, this won't start building it up until you hit the hill, but it's a bit more of an aggressive climb out of this one. Our intake temps are nice and low, so that intake temp, I think I've mentioned it before, it's just a temperature sensor on the inside of the airbox. So that lets me know how hot the air is that the car's sucking in. We're doing 110. So what I might do is I might try and maintain 110 until it hits 500 degrees. I'll still flick with the overdrive switch so that we're not unnecessarily hurting anything, but just to give you an idea of how it goes maintaining temperature. So I'm just going to start this hill a little bit more aggressive than I usually would, and we'll see how we go. Still at 110. I forgot this one changes to 100 speed limit here, so we'll roll it off to 100, but we'll just keep into it. So we're in the 100 zone now, just back off a little bit more. That's 100 k's an hour there. Man, I'm almost starting to think that I shouldn't have bothered going for the FTE. Like, I'm trying to remember, I can't remember whether this was tuned before I used it for towing last time. I don't think it was. And it's improved the characteristics of towing more so than what it improved driving unloaded. It's kind of crazy, to be honest. The guys at Green's Diesel knew what they were doing, and this is proof. I told them there'd be a bit of towing every now and then, and it just, man, it feels so dialed in. Okay, we're on the second part of the hill. It's a bit steeper here. We're still doing 100 k's an hour. Still doing 100, still doing 100. Give it a little bit more throttle there. So we've cracked 500 degrees on the EGTs. We're still doing 100, so if we can get to the top without the alarm going off, I'm gonna do it. Just to show you guys as a one-off what the 1HZ can do if you're not worried too much. So it's sort of picking between, and we've hit the alarm. So that's 550. I'll put it into overdrive. We're still doing 95 and 100 here. So that was no overdrive, 550 again. Once it finds 550, it's much easier to keep finding it. But we're at the top of the hill. So look, if you were driving, not looking at the EGT, waiting for the alarm, you could have rolled 100 k's an hour the whole way up that hill. Again, anyone who lives around here knows the area. I think that's pretty bloody good for a 1HZ. Now, I've been told that there's no big deal touching 550 every now and then. I prefer not to, again, just because I want this car to last as long as possible. But there's nothing stopping you from doing the speed limit up that hill. Which I know people will go, 1HZ guys getting excited about being able to do the speed limit, but it's like, for what it is, it's impressive. It really is impressive. Anyway, same deal. We've hit the top of the hill. We've got one more to go, and then we'll go back and figure out fuel consumption and have a bit of a chat. Okay, so once again, this is the last big downhill before the last big uphill. So the car gets a bit of a chance here to cool off a bit. We're off the throttle because we don't want to speed. And I think for the sake of this test, I'll treat it the same as what I did on the last hill. We're just going to get to 110 and we're going to maintain it. If it means sinking the boot in, if it means touching the alarm, let's just show what this car does or has to do to maintain the speed limit up hills. Okay, so we've just touched the bottom of the hill now. We're at 110. I will switch overdrive off when required because it just gets the EGTs up unnecessarily in an auto. In the left lane so we're out of everyone's way. But we are doing 110 and we are committed. So we're back a gear off the get-go. We're at 105. The car can't actually maintain 110 here. 105. 105. So alarm. That's the peak of the hill over. We're back at 110. So there you go, stuff like that. If you really felt the need to, you can sink the boot and go pretty close to keeping 110 up the hills, but I much prefer the approach of rolling into it, easing off a little bit as you get up there. Even if you lose down to 90 k's an hour, and just ease back into 110. So that's it for the highway test. I'm gonna jump off here. We're gonna go fill the tank, see how many liters we used on that lap. And the next you will see me, we will be in the garage and we'll be walking through the numbers from this test. Okay, ladies and gents, that's the end of the highway test with the 1HZ Landcruiser. So I've got some numbers here that we always run through at the end of this test. This is the final one, so I'll do my best to compare to how it originally was, how its final form is, and then how it compares with the towing specifically. I've got some notes here, so as always, we open with fuel consumption. Now, fuel consumption with the towing, it's worth noting that I was driving pretty aggressively. We were maintaining 110 through nearly all of it. So we ended up with a final figure of 18.7 litres per 100. Personally, I think that's very good for towing. I think when we first ran the car, stock turbo, like the original turbo, no intercooler, we used around about 16. So the fact that we can tow just over a tonne and be really close to that figure, I think that I'm really happy with that. I think it's a good number. If you're under 20 litres per 100 towing, it's good news. So I was very happy with that. Next up was the 0 to 100 time. Again, I was pretty shocked. We did well here. So I think 17.03 seconds was what we ended up running for the 0 to 100, which I think, again, was pretty much the same as what the turbo ran pre-tune. So I think we were actually faster towing the boat. I'm gonna put the figures just up here above my head so you can see it. But I think we were faster with the boat on the back than what we were originally with nothing, no weight in the car, no towing. So again, it just shows the value of putting the right turbo on, keeping it intercooled and a good tune to match it. So no speed machine, but as good as any modern car. Like I said, it's with the boat, it's almost as fast as a brand new V8 Landcruiser without towing. So another big win for this car. It's really done well, better than I thought. And on the 0 to 100 too, another thing worth noting was the EGT at the end of the run was 523 degrees. So running cooler than what it was pre-tune, pre-turbo again. So yeah, it continues to impress me. So next on the list was our hill climb EGT. So that's the final column, and what that is usually comparing is that final steep hill that we do out. So I've got some notes here that pre all of the mods, we hit 558 degrees. That was driving conservatively, and I think we dropped down well below 100 k's an hour because that number was climbing and I didn't want it to get too hot. With the boat on the back now, with everything done, we pretty much held 110 up the hill. I gave it no mechanical sympathy, so I just held it the whole way up. We ended up landing on 562 degrees, but it touched for just a split second. So again, it's not all about performance and how fast it is, but it's about how much safer our EGTs are too. So we were 4 degrees hotter than when it had no mods, towing the boat, and it only touched it for a split second and it backed off super fast because we got those front mount intercooler in. So again, massive win. There's nothing here that felt unsafe. If I was just towing on a normal day, I wouldn't have tried to maintain 110 up that hill. I wouldn't do that in most of my cars, not in my truck. I would just back off as we went up the hill to drive to the conditions, and as we come over the peak, then I'd roll back onto the speed limit. So overall, it's a bit of a sad moment that this car's going. I sort of built it as a budget all-rounder. I know there's no such thing as a true all-rounder that'll do everything perfectly, but I mean, I love the diesel sound. It runs pretty economically for what it is. It's awesome off-road. It's set up for basic touring really well, and we did it all on a budget. Honestly, more than half of what's in this car has all come off Marketplace. I got some great deals there. Now that it's got the fresh paint job, it looks the part. It's a really cool car, so it's a shame it's going, but the opportunity came up for something better. You guys who have been subscribed to the channel and watching my videos have seen that that car is coming along really nicely. I'm past the halfway mark on the FTE 105 build now, which is pretty exciting. I'll put a quick photo up here. You can see that we've now got the 100 series JDM engine, gearbox and cab on top of the 105 series chassis. So now it's a matter of just putting all the pieces back together, and hopefully I'll have that up and running in the next couple of months. So with this car, with the 1HZ105, I think I'll do one more video. It'll just be a brief one, just showing how it looks now, and it'll sort of be a for sale video at the same time. If any of you guys are interested in buying this car, get in touch with me. It's a pretty awesome car. I like that everything's been documented in the videos. Everything's been done to set it up for a long time and set it up well. So yeah, if you can, let me know. Otherwise, we'll do a walk around. I'll show you everything that's been done to it, its final form. So if you want to build something similar, you've got a step-by-step instruction to build a 1HZ that is daily drivable. It goes fast enough. It doesn't use too much fuel. And yeah, still reliable. So there's nothing too crazy happening there. We're not making bulk power or it's getting super hot all the time. I took it for a drive the other day and it's still just, it surprises me at how well it drives for what it is. Anyway, that's enough yapping. We'll be back super soon with the FTE 105. We'll do the final walk around and I'll see you all really soon.